Here's some help with day 2 of 3-4 homework, point slope form. Okay, this assignment is mostly the exact same stuff, exact same practice, okay? I'm going to change the directions on one part. On this part, instead of graphing, I want you to convert to slope-intercept form. That's one thing we did not do on the last one. It may have been on there, but I don't think I showed it on the video. I think I did on one question, actually, thinking about it. Let's go ahead and try to do one of each section. So it says, write an equation in point slope form of the line that passes through the given point and has the given slope. Let's do number 1. So we have 1, 3 and a slope of 5. Okay, so once again, our little pattern that we're using here that we don't have to memorize, it's on the formula chart, the reference material chart on the EOC test, and you can have that chart for every test. It's y minus y of 1 is equal to m times the quantity of x minus x of 1. So I color-coded it so you can see. We're plugging in a y value here. We're plugging in an x value here. We're plugging in the slope here. The thing we have to watch is that this minus sign is part of the formula. So if I plug in a positive 3, it becomes a negative 3 or a minus 3 in the formula. So I'm just going to copy this down, kind of like what you see here. I'm going to show that I'm plugging in my numbers. So y minus a y value is equal to my m value times x minus an x value. Okay, so I'm just going to plug in the numbers in the right spot. The m value is 5. I'm going to plug it in here. The x value of 1 goes over here on the back, right here, where the x of 1 is. The y value of 3 goes up here in the front, where I have a space for y, and that's it. We can rewrite it and drop the parentheses. The parentheses I put there for our use, just so we can know I'm plugging in a number where the blank is. Now that I'm done, I can rewrite it without those parentheses. I have y minus 3 is equal to 5 times the quantity of x minus 1. So just one more time, I want to point out, it's a positive 1x, but it is a minus 1 in the equation because that minus is part of the equation. It's a positive 3y value, but when I plug it in, the minus that's already there makes it look like a negative 3. The summary of that is, whenever you plug a number in, you're flipping the sign. Whenever you pull a number out to go into a point, you're flipping the sign. Okay, and we'll do some more practice. Okay, so let's do one of the next one. And again, I changed the directions to convert to slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So when you're doing that, and honestly, one of the things you want to do with point slope form is you want to convert to this form. It's easier to use this form. Easy to convert, we do a couple of different things. We're going to distribute the 3, the slope, we're going to multiply here and here. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times minus 2 is minus 6. All right? So that's all I can do on the right-hand side. Left-hand side, I've done nothing. I just rewrite it. Now I want to get y by itself, just like I have y by itself here. So I need to get rid of my 1 here. Opposite math will be minus 1 on both sides. I don't put the minus 1 below this guy. These aren't like terms. These are the guys who are like terms. So I put them here. Okay. Negative 6 and negative 1 gives me negative 7. So I have y on the left. I have 3x here. Y equals 3x minus 7. I want to point out something. The b value of negative 7 was not anywhere in this equation. So you can't look at this equation and suddenly have the y-intercept. All right? You have to calculate it by doing the distribution and getting y by itself. Okay? Let's do one from the next section. The next section says to graph. I do want you to graph, even though I didn't give you little graph boxes. I just want you to give me a simple sketch. Let's go ahead and do number 8 here in the middle. It says graph the line that passes through the given point and has the given slope. So, here's all you have to do to give me a good sketch. You make a y and x axis. Okay, just label it. And the first thing I do is plot my point. That's 3 to the left. So I'm going to show 3 to the left, just doing that. 2 down. I'm going to show 2 down like that. 3 to the left, 2 down. There's my starting point for this line. Now my slope is going to give me my rise over run. But it only has one number. I want to remind you, when you only have a whole number, the bottom number is automatically a 1. So basically, we're going down 4 because it's negative, and we always go right with the bottom number. Okay? So down 4, 1 to the right, over and over. For our purposes, we don't really have to do it except maybe one time. So I'm already here. To show that I'm going down 4 more, I'm going to count 4 more beyond where I'm at. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 4, 1 to the right, puts me right here. Just a little sketch. There you go. That's all I need for number 7 and 9. Something like that. Okay, number 10, I'll read to you. It's pretty straightforward. I really want you to do it on your own, but I'll read it to you. Write an equation in each of the following forms that have a slope of negative 2/3. So they're giving you the slope. Make up the other numbers. The y and the x number that go in here, just make up a number. You can make up any equation you want. And for this, you can make up different numbers. All they want is you have to have a slope of negative 2/3 in both of these in the correct spot. All right? Number 11, describe what you know about the graph of a line represented by this equation. Well, I'll give you a hint. It's called the point slope formula. So what 2 things can you find, or more than 2 things can you find knowing it's called that? All right? Write that out in a sentence or 2. On the back, model the data in each table with a linear equation in slope-intercept form. Now, slope-intercept form. So, on the last video, the one I made a mistake on, and Perry caught it, good job Perry. On the last video, I showed you the way we learned previously. We found the change in y over change in x, and then we backtracked and found where x is 0, and we found the b number. And I think it's a great way to do this. It's totally fine. I think it's actually easier to do it that way because we've already gotten used to it. On this one, I'm going to do a different approach. Okay? I'm going to use the point slope form to finish this one. Okay? So let's do number 13 together. I'm going to start off the same way. I have to find my change in y over change in x. So the y, it's going 2, 4, 6, but then what's going on here? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's make sure we have a linear situation, right? 2 to 4 is a change of 2. 4 to 6 is a change of 2. From 6 to 10 is a change of 4. From 20 to 40 is a change of 20. Here we have a change of 20, but here we have a change of 40. So as long as your reduced fraction is the same, here I have 2 over 20, here I have 2 over 20, but here I have 4 over 40. If you reduce that, 4 over 40. 2 over 20 is the same thing as 1 over 10. And also 4 over 40, I divide both those by 4, that is also 1 over 10. So even if it looks like it's different, you're talking about the ratio, the reduced answer. Is that always the same answer? Yes, it is, so we know we're dealing with linear. So my slope for this is 1/10. So here's where I'm going to differentiate a little bit from the last video. On the last video, I went back and I went backwards a step, or however much I had to get to 0 for x and whatever number's there is y. I think it's a great way to do this, and I say go ahead and do it. But I'm going to show you there's a use for point slope that we could also figure out our equation. So point slope formula is y minus y of 1 equals m times x minus x of 1. I'm sorry, x minus, that's going to be a number right there. I'm going to pick a point from this table. I'm just going to pick the smallest one. Y of 20, x of 20, y of 2. I'm going to plug the 20 in here. I'm going to plug the 2 in here. So I end up having y minus 2 equals, and I do have the slope, it's 1 over 10, equals 1 over 10. In this case, it might be better to turn the 1 over 10 into a decimal, which would be 0.1, a tenth. Okay, 0.1 times x minus 20. All right, now we distribute. 0.1 times x is 0.1x, and 0.1 times negative 20 would be negative 2. I was reaching for the calculator and then realized I can just do that. So if you wanted to type that in, you could do 0.1 times 20, or it's 1/10 of 20. Okay, so I have 0.1x minus 2. Now I have my y minus 2 over on the left, and I need to move that 2 over to the other side. That's going to be plus 2 plus 2. So let's do that real quick. I'm running out of room here. My plus 2 goes right here. What is going to happen right there? It goes to 0. So what do I end up with? I end up with y equals 0.1x. I kind of wish I hadn't changed the decimal because I can just leave it as a fraction. Y equals 1/10 x. There is no b value. Okay? So if we had done that right here, I go down 2, I get to 0. I go down 20, I get to 0. What does that mean? That means it's direct variation. That means this line goes through the origin. My starting value, or my y-intercept, is 0. So whether you decide to just do it this way, which honestly is a lot faster if you are good at this, or if you do it this way, do point, slope, and solve, you're going to get the answer. Okay, let's do one of these next ones. Write an equation in point, slope form of each line. So point, slope form, let's just do number 14. So 14, we have a positive slope line. I need to pick a point. I can pick any point. I'll just pick one of these big ones they give me right here. In fact, I'll pick an easy one. 2, 2, right? So I have a point 2, 2. My slope is my rise over run. I rise 1, I run 2. I rise 1, I run 2. My slope is 1 over 2. So now that I have that, I just plug the numbers into my little formula. I'm going to put this right here, and I'm just going to copy it down. Just to show you that that's all you're doing on these, right? I plug in my 1/2 right here. I plug in the 2x value here. I plug in the 2y value here. What do I end up with? Y minus 2 equals 1/2 times the quantity of x minus 2. That's the answer. Next section. Write an equation in point slope form of the line that passes through the given points. So this was similar to the last homework. They don't give you the slope. Instead, they give you 2 points. You really only need 1 point, but you also need the slope. So in this case, we're going to use the 2 points to find the slope. Let me pick one. I'll pick maybe this one that has some negatives. 17. So what I really encourage you guys to get in the habit of is making a little tiny table for yourself. Remember, these are just x's and y's, xy, xy. That -2, -3 xy, I just drop it in my table right here. That 4, 3 xy is just right here, xy. The reason it's better to do it this way is now we can look at how y is changing. From -3 to +3, it went up 6. It had to go up 3 to get to 0, then 3 more to get to the +3, right? This guy, from -2 to +4, it went up 6 as well. It went up 2 to get to 0 and 4 more. So my change in y over change in x is 6 over 6, which is equal to 1. All right? So now that I have that, I can pick either of these points. Just plug them into my equation. I'm going to do y minus, and I'm going to plug in my 3, equals 1, which I could write or I could leave invisible. I'll go ahead and write it for now. And then x minus, and I have to pick the 4 that goes with the 3 that I picked. The shorter way to write that, since 1 is basically, it doesn't change any value, like it distributes and nothing changes, I could technically write this. Okay? I actually kind of prefer you to keep it like this so you're showing me you remember point slope form. But both those are right. Okay, the writing I want you to do on your own, and the word problem I want you to do on your own. I will get you started on the word problem. A restaurant's goal is to serve 600 customers in 8 hours, 900 customers in 12 hours. Write an equation in point slope form. That's going to be the new one that we're learning, that represents the number of customers served per hour. Remember, when you see the word per, each, or every, you're probably talking about slope. Our slope is customers per hour. And remember, slope is made up of my change in y, so guess what? Y is customers, and my change in x is hours. That is your hint. Your other part of your hint is make a tiny table. Find your slope. You have a customer's number, an hour's number that goes with it. You have another customer's number, another hour's number that goes with it. Plug that in here and do the math. Good luck.